Fireside Chat, the future of talent acquisition, innovative strategies for finding and retaining top talent. The moderator for the session will be Mr. Bijender Vats, CHRO, Crystal Crop Protection Limited. Let me give a small brief about him. Mr. Bijender Vats, with diverse experience in sales and HR across multinational and Indian MNCs, specializes in M&A scenarios, organizational integration, HR development, leadership, performance, management, culture change, talent management, and succession planning. With this, let me introduce the panelists for the discussion. Mr. Anjan Das, VP HR, Pristyn Care, along with Mr. Vijay Sinha, Executive Vice President HR, JSW. Mr. Aditya Mishra, Managing Director and CEO, CIEL HR. Last but not least, Ms. Ipsa Ratha, Director Talent Acquisition, JLL. So with this, can we invite our moderator along with our panelists respectfully over the stage for the panel discussion. All right, everyone, can we give them a huge round of applause as they have managed to take out their time from their hectic schedule and given us their precious time for this insightful session we are going to witness. So to our moderator, Mr. Bijender Vats, sir, over to you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First of all, I think it's a great opportunity for all of us. You know, today we happen to be on the panel, but I think one rule that I try and follow is that each one of us, you know, gets an opportunity to interact with each other, learn from each other. We have a fantastic panel, and I'm really excited because, you know, we keep talking of talent, building organizations, growing organizations, but I think one part of human resources, which is perhaps the most important one, which helps in building a great organization, is actually the talent acquisition. Because whatever talent development you will do, whatever retention will do, it all depends on who comes into the organization. And I have some of the fantastic panelists here, you know, and my job honestly is much easier because I'm going to ask them questions and learn from them like many of you. But we also look at, you know, probably the last 10 minutes of interacting with all of you, learning from all of you. If you have any questions, our panelists will be, you know, happy to answer, right? And maybe Aditya, if you can be our opening batsman, you know. We keep talking of various practices, the way, you know, the entire gamut of talent acquisition is changing, right? But is it fair to say that over last few years, we have started moving more towards hiring for skills in particular, you know? When I say hiring for skills, I mean, are we moving a little bit more towards hiring specialists rather than hiring generalists, you know? Yeah. Your views on that?
Yeah. Very interesting question. I think it's there on everybody's mind, anybody who's an HR or a business leader. All of us understand that the business outcomes that we deliver is a direct result of the quality of talent that we get into our business. So I think, you know, over the last few decades, this has always remained as a key question. In today's time, in my opinion, this has become all the more important than it was ever before, because the gamut of skills are kind of changing so frequently, so fast, that before we realize that we have really developed our workforce up to a certain level of expertise or certain level of competence on a particular skill, that skill is sort of again changing. Think of the software professionals who need to upskill themselves or who need to understand certain kind of skills, gain certain expertise to be able to use that. Now a new skill has come. So he or she is back to the drawing board again. Think of think of an electrician. The machine, the interface that the person was dealing with is also changing so quickly. The way our domestic appliances are changing at our homes, it could be just a fan or a cooler or an air conditioner or air purifier. All of these are changing. So even an electrician needs to now think of, do I have the skills? to deal with this machine. So going forward, as we see, this is going to become a lot more important, that how we deal with the human and the machine have to work together. So as the machines are continuously changing, upgrading, newer versions are coming, we as humans need to continuously also acquire those skills. A few years ago, when I started my career in 92, I started incidentally in an engineering company, L&T. So that time we all were hired as a bunch of graduate engineer trainees. We were put through a kind of an induction program, and we were taken to various factories of L&T across the country. We saw different machines, manufacturing processes, and all of that. We understood all of it, and we realized what we have studied in our college and what we are learning is so different. So after it used to be a challenge even 30 years ago, 92, 32 years ago. So even now it is a challenge, but the challenge is more intense today. So we as HR people, whether we are in talent acquisition or in talent management, learning and development, any area of HR, I think we need to be extremely agile at this point in time, because we are focusing on skills that are required for the moment today, and whether the person has the ability to learn new skills continuously. Whether the person has the ability to solve problems, whether the person is able to collaboratively work. All these are examples I'm saying. It need not be true that for every job you need all of these competence, but these are like skills which we need to understand. In our talent acquisition process, we need to screen people for those skills and those competencies.
Fantastic. Aditya, I think you brought in a very important point, that HR and as well as line function for that matter needs to be really agile, because while we continue to hire, I think we need to also upskill ourselves, so that we are hiring right in relevance of times, right? But that also raises another question, Aditya, what do we do with the existing talent? You have people on board. At times, in HR jargons, we call them solid citizens, people doing same role for 5, 7, 10 years. How do you keep them relevant? How do you keep them motivated? Because you are hiring for today's skills, right? So what are some of the practices that you've seen, that you've done? Because CIEL HR is again very strong on development side as well, right? You do a lot of work around that as well, right? So how do you bring in that balance, that you're bringing in the best guys, but at the same time people in the organization, right, are also continuing to upskill themselves, learn and grow, some of the practices?
Absolutely. I think it's an important challenge. So I believe that we have to hire talent right, so that we have the necessary ingredients right in the beginning. Of course, it needs to be cultured, it needs to be developed right from the time somebody is in the school and the college and the university. Even I believe our families need to play a role in shaping the young generation for the future. I say this because many times we as parents, or we even as young children, we don't tell them that they need to keep certain budgets, certain resources of time and money for continuous upskilling in their life. There was a point in time, maybe when I was in school or college, that time we were told that you have got into an engineering college, then your life is set. You finish your engineering, your life of next 35 years is all set. But it's not so anymore. So even if somebody is graduating in 2024, needs to have the time and the money throughout one's life for continuous investment on oneself. Like we invest in our investor spend for entertainment, for our clothes, for our grooming or whatever. Similarly, I think certain amount of budget needs to be set aside for everybody to develop self-development, upskilling. So this is point one. The second, what organizations can do. This is about the society, family, community, belief, schools, colleges, and all of that. But what organizations can do, I think organizations have to hire talent, right? Now that we have already hired and we have thousands of people with us, we need to kind of drive this point through, that this is how the skill canvas is going to change. And we all need to embrace the changes which are going to happen. And we also need to have the courage to tell our people that if you do not embrace these changes, the inevitable has to happen. I mean, if somebody is not able to change oneself, what happened to dinosaurs will happen to people. So I, as an organization, have to let you go. I think we need to have that courage and need to have the ability to communicate this, that if you don't embrace. And then, of course, the last point is that I need to create that environment, not the environment of fear, but the environment of continuous learning within our organization. Many line managers don't like their people pulled out from operations for learning, development, and all of this. But I think all of us need to really embrace this change. That's the important thing.
Fantastic. And you know, this just reminds me of a discussion that I had yesterday. You know, so one of our ex-employees' son, you know, an engineer working for about 8 years, he wanted to have a conversation. You know, his dad worked with us for about almost 20 plus years, superannuated some time back. And I was wondering what conversation he wanted to have. You know, he's known me for some time, but then I was like, okay. And you know, he's like very structured types. You know, he's into project management. He works for Amazon, and he said, I'm not very happy at Amazon, but I don't know what to do. Should I leave Amazon or I'm not too sure. And I asked him those typical, you know, HR questions. For how long you've been there? He said 8 years. I said, okay, fine. I said, in 8 years, how many roles have you done? He said, this is my 4th role. I was like, fantastic. I said, I said, for me, you're like my child, but if you don't mind, what's your compensation? What did you start with? He said, about 15 lakhs. I said, where are you placed today? He said, 1 crore 40 lakhs. And then I took a pause and I was like, what is he unhappy with? 8 years, 4 roles, 1 crore 40 lakhs. And I was just trying to figure out that this is the generation that we are managing, right? So when you spoke about, you know, communicating to people, I think all of us sitting in this hall have a real tough job on hand, you know, because honestly speaking, you know, I don't know how can we make people happy. And you know, today morning when I took the flight from Trivandrum, I saw a note from him. So whatever I told him yesterday, he is actually like a typical project management guy. You know, they have this amazing skill set. He has prepared notes. He has prepared my actionables also on questions which I need to answer. And he says, Uncle, I'll schedule another call 1 week down the line. So now I am more stressed, you know. Imagine I went to counsel him, right? But I think that's the kind of talent that we all are trying to manage and leverage the strength that they bring to table, right? Fantastic. In terms of talent acquisition, I think you know, one big change, I wouldn't say that we have seen. I think we're still trying to bring it on, is the entire work that we do, you know, around diversity and inclusion. And we have an esteemed panelist in Ipsa who comes from a very diverse background. I'm not too sure how many of you would know, but she has been with Indian Army, went to FMS, and leads talent acquisition for JLL. So maybe if I may just start with, what are some of the practices you know, that you have in JLL where you're trying to strengthen and build further on D&I, more specifically beyond gender, because I think in India, you know, when we say D&I, everybody gets stuck up at gender and the discussion also ends at gender. That's the unfortunate part, yeah.
Thank you so much for the question, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here. So like you have already very, you know, graciously pointed out, I would like to say that I am a walking, talking diversity. And like he pointed out, not in terms of gender only. Okay, today I'm dressed in orange. I see only 3 people or in the room who are very, brightly dressed, and maybe the rest of them are using very sedate colors and the usual. So that is also a form of diversity. The second thing I would like to say that being from an armed forces background, uh, towards the end of my 40s, being selected and adapted to manage a vertical like this itself speaks about the inclusivity, about the equity, about the supportive environment which is there. So all of that has to be taken into consideration. Now, what you said about gender diversity, I'll just talk about, disability. When we are talking about diversity and inclusion, and we are trying to hire people who are not very, or resources who are not very blessed, we have to ensure that we are ready for them. Now, for example, a person who's visually disabled, I plan to hire him, I hire him also, but I don't have the wherewithal at all. My building or my office is just not planned out. I don't have those braille keypads. I've not empowered, enamored, I have not done anything or any preparation to get him on board. Then how does he function? He felt it's a very sad experience for the candidate. I can give you hundreds of such examples that are happening while the will is there, or maybe the intent is there. How it is conducted is not, conducted in the, or rather taken ahead in the right spirit. Because of which, that empowerment, that enabling that person to be a part of that team is left out.
Fantastic. And just building up on that response, one challenge that we continue to see across organizations is in terms of philosophy, in terms of belief, the organization is aligned to, DNI. But one common challenge that we see across organizations is how do you get the alignment of line function, managers, because while whatever we may speak, the manager still thinks, this job has to be done. And let me give you an example, say from a manufacturing setup or from a sales setup. I have always seen this challenge where the manager says this involves a lot of travel. So those myths, those mental blocks are still there. What are some of the practices that you've done in your organization or you've seen around you, right, which helps in getting in a better buy-in from the line function?
Okay, firstly, you said it, removing the biases. That's the most important thing. We have compartmentalized everybody or everything based on something that we have in our mind, and we are not ready to change that. So getting that awareness, and in case somebody is already in that organization who's done very well or excelled in that role, breaking that glass ceiling, breaking that bias, those success stories are very necessary that they have to be shared with everybody. Then you can have, or we do have these learning and upskilling sessions or L&D sessions for training these people to break through their biases, to see beyond, see the bigger picture. I'll not name the organization, but there is a factory where they have, and I'm sure all of you will guess it. There is a factory in Faridabad, Balabgarh, who employs mostly women. There 90% of the workforce is women. Now, in a factory setup, if you are employing women employees, where does that, or how are you saying that women are not able to contribute and function in a manufacturing setup? So we have to go beyond, we have to break that bias, we have to break our mental roadblocks that we have, that okay, this person is only eligible to, and I just to add to what Aditya had said earlier, upskilling, reskilling, and you must look at the attitude of the person. If that person has the attitude to it, he or she is going to be, you know, compatible with anything, any role that is given. And that is what I think, and I've seen it also happening many times.
Fantastic. And I think somewhere, you know, when we look at examples around us, you would see uh, that for all this success or all these milestones to happen, you know, you'll always see a very progressive manager, you know, who takes the bait and say, you know, that let me do this, right? A large part of my career I've spent in pharma, where, you know, it's more of feet on street job, and I still remember, you know, 2010 backing a talent, a very smart sales executive, and we wanted her to become a first line manager. Obviously, there were concerns, you know, that it involves a lot of travel, Mumbai, late night working, because doctors meet you at 10 o'clock in the night, 11 o'clock in the night, and we were like, you know, let's take a, you know, this thing, and let's see how she does, you know. And obviously there were concerns because she had a small baby, right? And that point of time in pharma in 2010, we did not have, even today we don't have many women sales leaders, right? And I think 2011 we promoted her as an area manager. She became a zonal head, she became a national sales head, and then she became a business head, heading both sales and marketing. And so couple of days back, she moved back to her original organization from where we had her, you know, which is Novartis. She's gone back to Novartis, and I saw this very sweet message from her that, you know, you have played a very critical role in my career by taking the risk in 2010. And I wrote back to her that I don't know if I have played a critical role, but I've been a part of your journey, and you inspire me every single day. And there are so many such women sales leaders. In FMCG, I think it's a lot more common, but I think some of the other industries, I think we always need that one manager who stands by and says, that, you know, I'll take this one, you know, let's go for it. So fantastic, Ipsa. Thanks for all those inputs. Okay, we continue to talk of, you know, AI nowadays, the way technology is used, at times overused, you know, that's my personal belief, right? Particularly in the talent acquisition space. We have an expert in Anjan. So Anjan, how is AI going to impact, you know, and I also want a very candid response from you. How much of AI should be used, and how much of human touch will matter, particularly in talent acquisition?
Thank you so much for asking the question. It's an honor to be part of this forum and sharing the thought, right? Okay. I think I would like to say, typically when we do hiring for any of the organization, right? And I think traditionally most of the organization use, right, okay, there is intuition, right, okay, why we should hire somebody. Manager will have intuition, HR will have different intuition, right, okay. Top leadership will have different intuition. So it's a typically biased process, right, when we hire. So it's not a proactive method, it's a reactive methods. I think that's where AI comes vital role. The big data process, right? When we hire, we look at couple of competencies. One is the skill based of the role the person has to perform in the organization, right? Okay, and the cultural fitment, right? That is very, very important, right? Okay. Now imagine in the cultural fitment also, the top level CEO or founder is thinking something, right? Okay, I'm sorry because I'm from startup ecosystem, so we closely work with the founder, so it comes the founder mind, right? Okay. So founder has certain mentality, right? Okay. He wants to hire this kind of talent, especially into the competition, the behavioral aspect, right? Okay. Imagine the end person who is taking the interview in the organization, large size organization, like somebody has a 4,000, 5,000 or 10,000 employees, right? Okay, base. It's very tough to convey the same thought process, right? I think that's where AI or big data is giving the breathing space for the talent acquisition people, right? Okay. While you are going through interview process or a screen process, automatically whatever predefined methods you have designed, right? Okay, you are getting through numbers or voice to text, whatever way you wish, right? Okay. So it's really remove the biasness of the human intuition, right? Okay. Everybody is unique, everybody is different. So that is one benefit I would say AI is giving to the organization, right? Okay, that is predominantly bias, removing the bias. I think another aspect is, right, okay, in the traditional model, let's say you need to hire 100 people, right, okay, you will put probably 50 recruiter, or in a month 100 people, 50 recruiter to call 1,000 people, right, okay. You need not to do that. AI will give us probably, rather than reaching out 1,000 people, 200 people database, which you can actually impact of the conversion of hiring is much, much higher, right, okay, which typically you're reducing the TAT as well, right, and cost as well, right. And the ecosystem, like different ATS has today, we do have, right, okay, it's giving the better experience to the candidate, right. So predominantly AI has actually breathing a space for talent acquisition team, right, okay, and it should implement it, right, okay, because it's give a lot of prediction to you. I personally introduced a couple of organizations, right, okay. I think back almost 2018 we have introduced this to different organizations, right, okay. I worked for how interview process should be, rather than first making the call to any of the talent, right, okay. Let's go through certain process which gives us the insight of the data so that we can integrate them in the interview process, right, okay. So I think, yeah, I think it's just really beneficial for us, right, okay, as an organization, right, wherever I have worked, right, okay, while hiring probably any startup you see, right, okay, and scale like 300x, right, okay, your manpower supply has to give in probably 100x faster to get the early mover in the industry, right, so it's really works for us, honestly.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Anjan. I'm a little conscious of time. We have 15 seconds left, right? But I think what we can quickly do is, get back to our audience. If you have any questions, and please feel free to ask. Okay, I think we have a challenge around time, but I think before I close, I think let me take this opportunity to thank all three of you, for your candid responses, and I hope our colleagues have really enjoyed the interaction, and hopefully during the break we can catch up as well. But thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for understanding. But you can always ask your questions during the lunch break. Our panelist and a moderator is going to be present here throughout. You can have your question answered at the lunch break. So now I request, please be with us for another, let's say, a minute. We need to present you a small token of appreciation as you have presented your immense time over here, your precious time over here, and given such insightful presentation over here through the panel discussion. And I request Mr. Neeraj Hakim, VP Sales Events, please can we have you, sir, over here to present them a small token of appreciation. With a huge round of applause, everyone. Can we give him another